How's it going, Laser Bruces? I'm Bobby Sixkilla and welcome back to Deluge. In the last episode we ran away with May. Ina knows about it and we are currently hiding from the church so that they don't ship May off to Germany. That's our current status. We're living in a cave. And she's having weird flashbacks to a time that she couldn't possibly remember if she's 19 years old. Anyway, at the dolmen it was so peaceful that I began to wonder if the voices in the woods had been no more than figments of our imagination. Until a dark-haired figure emerged from the opening between the stones. And before I even realised what was happening, she'd struck me in the head with the large leather-clad tome that she held in her right hand, so that I was knocked backwards by the blow. Rika, May stood paralysed. There you are. Come now, Abraham. We knew you had your eyes set on Miss Waltzing all along, but to imagine that you go as far as to kidnap her. Rika took out her phone. The fugitives have been located at the same place where you found the sleeping bags. Come over right now. I wanted to grab May, to run for it, but I still found myself disoriented by Rika's blow. A thin trickle of blood was making its way down the side of my neck, steadily staining my shirt a deep burgundy. Oh, poor boy, did I strike you too hard? I keep forgetting how heavy these old Bibles are. They really don't make them like they used to. Her lips curled into a foreboding grin. If you can stay conscious for a little while longer, they'll have excellent healthcare available for you at the municipal jail. Rika, that's so mean. Hold your tongue. You're in some deep trouble too. How dare you run away from us? May whimpered, overwhelmed by the spontaneous outburst of rage from her one-time friend had unleashed on her. Our church has always looked after you, May. We cared for you when no one else would. Not even your own parents. May let out an agonizing wail. We housed you, fed you, gave you an education. Education? What kind of education? A special education tailored exactly for her. You taught her nothing, not even how to read and write. Rika grew quiet, her explosive fury making place for a severe, more articulate anger. No, Abe, you don't understand. It's what she needed. Rika shot a spiteful glance at May, who was sobbing silently. She's an abomination. Rika. Ever since she was young, May had displayed a certain trait that was always there, hiding in her eyes, like an unsettling presence. We realised her early life had been eventful, and hoped it would pass with the years. But it worsened the moment she entered elementary school, and she began learning how to read and write. May's classmates would come home fatigued whenever they spent too much time in her presence. And even worse, things would break in her vicinity. One day, when she'd been put in detention for driving a classmate to tears, her teacher found her inside a storage room surrounded by shattered school supplies, and May just sat there staring at her, a blank look in her eyes. I have vague recollections of these disturbing events. For us, it was heartbreaking to see a young, innocent child be consumed with these powerful demons. The things her biological parents must have done to her to create such a horror, truly blood-curdling. Gradually, older kids began to pick up on May's weird behaviour. She was bullied mercilessly to the extent that they had to take her out of school. But the thing was, while the Lazarus Foundation worked on creating a private education curriculum for her, we noticed that May began to fare much better. Unchallenged by social and cognitive stimuli, it was clearly the stress of mainstream education that brought out the worst in her, and with these outside influences, she returned to her good behaviour. After we confined her to a sober regime of solitary play and colouring books, the chilling glare slowly disappeared from her eyes, and the mysterious occurrences ceased happening. Just then, two figures appeared, taking position behind us. Rika gestured for them to stand by. While May was under auspice of the church, my parents instructed me to keep an eye on her, to be her friend even though I didn't want to. To be honest, I was rather afraid of her. May stirred. I hated it being paired up with a retarded kid, but it was my duty as the pastor's daughter to act as a caretaker. Rika. May had begun shaking. I hated it so much I'd even play mean pranks on her, but May didn't mind, as I was her only friend. Rika, May was doing so well. Her behaviour grew stable, under our unwavering care. But look what you've done to her. Camping trips? Books? May can't have that kind of stimulation. You're undoing all that we've worked so hard for. I can see it in her eyes already, the growing madness. Go, seize her. Take her to the car, the police will deal with the boy. But as the men enclosed on the trembling, forlorn figure of May, a white light began to shine. It was a calming light that enveloped the entire scene, drowning out all the noise and violence, and it appeared to be emanating from May. At that moment I began to wonder if maybe Rika was right, if maybe the overpowering mixture of excitement and emotion had awoken a certain attribute in the girl. A unique trait wholly inconceivable by human understanding. Rika, what's happening to me? I feel heavy. As I strained my eyes, which almost succumbed to the overpowering luminescence, I realized that the light didn't come directly from her, but that it originated from the dolmen behind her, on which the S glyph had begun glowing mysteriously. And then I was blind. All breaks down into cycles. What exists is fated to return upon itself again and again until the end of times. The apple seed sprouts into a sapling, then grows into a tree until one day it itself is ready to bear fruit. And thus it repeats. Does that sound like the greatest torture to you? Reliving your life every second of it over and over again? Into eternity? We are condemned to reoccurrence, growing through infancy, childhood, parenthood, before in turn giving birth to new life. How far can we trace back the lineage? Through history, the great civilizations, the vast seas of dark that lay in between. It all returns to that progenital event, that initial completion of the cycle that all of existence ripples out from. Each iteration of the cycle is bonded to that progenital event. All of life is steeped in its uniting essence, the essence of all. Belfry. Life today mirrors history, born from anguish and despair, the reunification, the escape, the birth, the death. It recurs again and again like an originating myth to which all of existence must atone. Each cycle attempts to come to completion in the same way it did on that spring day. Each of our actions are steeped in the essence of all, carrying the limitless potential of the first iteration. And each time the cycle repeats, the potential accumulates, steadily growing. Suddenly an enormous blast resonates through the forest as a force like a tropical cyclone blew us to the ground. And beside me I saw Rika, who appeared to be in anguish, her clothes having been torn to shreds by the blast. Above the sound of the winds I could hear her praying furiously, as though her faith had been tried to the fullest extent. She does great wonders, making fire come down from heaven upon the earth within the sight of men, and she deceives those who dwell on the earth by means of these miracles, which she performs on behalf of the beast. Gradually all return to silence. I mean, she's one to talk, considering her and her ancestors worshipped the old ones on the beach or whatever. The presence of the All-Mother is distant now. No longer do we perform the forgotten rites. Many transient gods have since been bestowed the allegiance of men, for short periods only, for these younger gods are constructed in a fashion that is bound by linear time. And as the white light continued outwards, I noticed that its beams did not hurt me at all. They simply went through me, filling me with a comforting sensation of immaculate bliss. For it felt as though I recognized the light as its powerful warming touch, as though it had been with me, even from the time that I was born. And as the beam grew stronger, I further surrendered to its glow, until I could no longer determine where the boundary between it and myself lay. That is when I saw how the tale ended. Inconsolable grief gave birth to the greatest happiness. Our new family, already without a mother, looked out over a ravaged world. Death echoed at us from all sides, as though taunting the last of the living to join its ranks. While Belfry nursed the twins, I lay my sister to rest inside the grave mound. Her, their mother, the last of our tribe to be entombed therein. And while we remained there mourning for 7 moons, I etched the sigil of our clan into the dolmen's exterior wall. S, sign of the river, flowing eternally, fruitfully, into the estuaries of time. So flourish then, blood of waltzing. So, are we going to jail or what? I don't really want to go to jail. Epilogue. Alright, hit me. Oh, we're not in jail, that's a good start. It was about a week later that I received a message from Ina, summoning me to her office. Fuck, I just lost it then. It all just fell apart. So, you ready to get back to work this coming Saturday? Work? Thought we'd been shut down. I thought so too. till I received a highly apologetic letter from the school board notifying me of the immediate reinstatement of our monthly funding. And their reason? No reason stated. I think we may have a hidden benefactor pulling strings somewhere. The door opened and 2 visitors entered the room. May, Karen, thank you for joining us. You're just in time. From now on, May will be writing our weekly rock-solid advice section, in which she answers geology-related questions. As a managing editor, May will be positioned above you, Abe, so please make sure that her every need is met. Sounds great. Does that mean she was able to enroll in high school? I have. I need to take remedial classes until the end of the year, but after that I can enter 10th grade. Karen laughed. May's been settling in just fine. She's a great help around the garden. We're almost done decorating her room. Didn't the church give you any trouble? Well, they were apprehensive at first, but I noticed your little confrontation has definitely struck some fear into them. And also, I've been doing some digging. I looked into the financial administration of the Lazarus Foundation and found they've been appropriating community funds ever since their inception. There's one big mess of shady bookkeeping, missing receipts, unjustified payments to offshore accounts. Once I hinted at these matters, Kuiper became docile as a lamb. Suddenly, the transfer of the legal custodianship was completed in a day. They even helped me move May's belongings. And all operations of the Lazarus Foundation have been suspended indefinitely. If they ever start up again, it'll only take one call to the inspection board to have them shut down. Come on, Karen, let's head down to the cafeteria. I want to interview you before next year's electoral campaign kicks off. The 2 women exited the room. May turned toward me, smiling self-consciously. I really like staying with Karen. This is the first time I've lived in a town, you know that? But she's helping me fit in. I'm even allowed to set up a chicken coop in the garden. Those poor neighbours. She giggled. And in her sweet, unencumbered smile, I saw the will to life of 100,000 generations reflecting back on me. Hey, please come to the stones with me. I want to show you something. To be continued? Oh, come on. I don't know what happened there. How did we get out of that? Surely her doing her demonic miracles or whatever is more likely to get her taken away, not less likely. Unless they're so shit scared of her that they just don't want to deal with anything, you know? I don't know. Anyway, well, that's Deluge. It says to be continued, so if it's continued, we'll come back to it, I suppose. You'll have to let me know, of course. But yeah, until then, unless there's an outro post-credit scene, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. You've currently unlocked the ending route for May. You play the remaining ending routes by loading a save file or by returning to part 4. Interesting. So it has multiple endings, which are all existing from running from part 4, I guess. Wow, that's interesting. But you'll have to let me know if you want to see more or not. For now, I'm going to leave it here. If you do want to see more, let me know. Otherwise, we can leave it at the May ending. I'm pretty happy with that ending, even though I don't really know exactly what happens. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.